Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us for our first investor town hall of Next Metals Mining. My name is Jacqueline Reptash, VP Communications and Investor Relations here at Next Metals, and I'll be your moderator today. We're grateful for everyone who could join us to this live session. You're going to hear directly from our leadership team as we walk through, current strategy, recent developments, and obviously what lies ahead. But before we get started, let's talk about a few housekeeping items. So, of course, today's session is being recorded, and it'll be made available to you and posted on our website following the event. All participants are in listen-only mode, but however, if you have a question at any time, you can submit it using the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. And what we'll do our best to address as many questions as we can during the live Q&A portion at the end of the presentation. What I'd like to do is obviously introduce our panel today. So we have CEO and Director Morgan Lekstrom. Morgan has over 17 years of global mining experience from early stage development to construction. He recently led Next Gold's transformation into a near-term Canadian gold producer through strategic M&A, and his background includes leadership roles with major companies like Freeport, Rio Tinto, and Sabina Gold. And he's also known for driving growth and execution across diverse jurisdictions, including in West Africa. On the call today, we also have our president, Sean Whiteford. Now, Sean is a seasoned geologist and mining executive with over 30 years of global multi-commodity experience. He's held senior roles with BHP, Rio Tinto, and Cliffs, and he's got deep expertise in exploration, mining, and strategy. It's a really exciting time for Next Metals Mining. Over the past several months, including from where I'm sitting, I think we've made meaningful progress across the business. Progress that reflects not just our technical strength and discipline, but also our belief in what this company can become. So I'll invite Morgan to kind of kick things off for us, and we can just jump in. So Morgan, over to you.
Great. Thanks, Jacqueline. And thanks everybody for joining us here on this little bit cloudy Thursday here in Vancouver, but very exciting time for us here at Next Metals. I imagine most people on here are shareholders or new or potentially new to the story. So we'll give you an update, a bit of a presentation here on what we are and what our vision is and how we're going to progress. And I'll let Sean interject and talk about a lot of the technical side and also what our work plans are right now. But I really want to talk about, the whole space in general. When you're talking about the metal space, commodities, you talk about copper and cobalt, and you've seen massive rise in those pricing metrics. You see someone else talking. Uh-oh, there we go. Sorry, my computer blipped for a second. You see the way the world is trending is to be in a place where it's going to really need that copper supply. It's going to really need that cobalt supply. We see what's going on in the DRC with the DRC blocking cobalt exports. So we're in a position as a company with an asset, and as we're going to elaborate on these assets, to really focus on being a critical part of that supply chain. Given our location in Botswana and what we're going to go through here, I really hope to not only educate the community here on what our plans are, but how this advances and drives forward in a very quick manner, and how the results that we will be having coming out and the forward of this company is going to show exactly what we're going to be in a very short term. So I'll go to the next slide, and we'll have a few forward-looking statements in here. There's some cautionary language. I encourage you all to read that, and let's get moving. So what is Next Metals? Next Metals is a Botswana-focused copper, nickel, cobalt, palladium, platinum development company with two past-producing assets that not only past-produced, and when I say past-produced, I always like to coin that, we didn't past-produce in the 1800s or 1900s. This past-produced up to 2016. There's a number of reasons why it's no longer producing, and one of them is they didn't actually go out and expand the resources enough to understand what they had there, which was a very huge opportunity for us as a company. And we're going to show you why that was an opportunity, and the great work Sean and the team have done to show the scale and size of these assets. Two kind of main components. One, critical infrastructure is already in place. The underground mines already have mine shafts in place. The surface had been mined before. That's our Selkirk deposit. And the other component to this is we're very well capitalized right now to execute on everything that we're going to talk about in this program and show you the scale and size of these assets. But I'll start with our current underground asset. It is called Salibe. It's a past producing mine, a part of the Salibe mining complex. It is what we call the crown jewel currently of our company, not to be mistaken from Selkirk, which also could be the second jewel in that crown. And the Salibe deposit itself, just about 30 million tons at over 3% copper equivalent. It's one of the rare copper, nickel, cobalt deposits in the world that is a massive sulfide deposit. It's showing tremendous expansion potential, and we can get at it from the underground. We have the ability to get in the underground, which we've been doing, and actually drill and touch the ore. We know how it's been mined before. So we have many de-risking factors that have already happened for this project that allow us to advance very quickly. Now I want to switch over to the Selkirk deposit. That's an open pit style deposit. That is a copper, nickel, palladium, platinum deposit. Historically, it had over 128 million tons in the M&I. Why we're at 44 million tons right now is because we expanded the assay programs to include palladium and platinum, which end up making about a third of the deposit. This is a very big positive for us. We're now going back, reworking the assay program, which means we're taking the old core, we're re-assaying it, and we'll be dramatically, hopefully increasing not only the size, but the scale of that deposit in the very near term. So a number of items happened over the last, let's say, 6 months here with NEXM Metals. It was previously Premium Resources. It had about $21 million of debt with EdgePoint. When we came in and recapitalized, it came in with the Fiore Group, Frank Justra, myself, and our group came into the story realizing this is one of those very rare opportunities in the world where you have something that is scalable. You have something in what is a world-class jurisdiction, the safest position in Africa, 58-year running democracy, but you also have something here that can scale into a world's scaled mine, world size. Like this is something that we thought was very unique. So when we did the $46 million raise, we did it non-brokered, and we were able to convert EdgePoint all of their debt into shares. They are currently our largest shareholder at 22%, very valuable shareholder to us, and been very supportive. So we are, again, I go back to very well capitalized to move everything we need to show expansion potential and beyond. And I'll go to the next slide, please. But what I really do want to touch on is the powerhouse that is Botswana, and the fact that this was in a massive, massive company before. So Botswana in itself is a very attractive jurisdiction to work. It's top safest jurisdiction in Africa between that and Namibia. It's above South Africa on the map. But what's really important is you have a very competent workforce. You have an established track record of mining in the country, whether it's diamonds or copper or the old BCL mine, which was this. That creates a very unique infrastructure for us. We're not having to reinvent the wheel here. So when we go and decide to ramp up, we ramp up our employment. It is very essential to have those skill sets in country. I've worked in other jurisdictions in the world, and I'm feeling very blessed to have not only be in Botswana, but to have the type of people around that are available to us. One of the big things for us too is our government relations. You know, we have a very strong relationship with the current administration. It changed in November. President Boku and myself and Frank and the minister, we met in, I believe it was in March, in Washington, D.C. And we spoke about the importance of this asset and this in Botswana, and Botswana becoming really that middle of Africa powerhouse in the copper nickel space, and everyone was very well aligned. So we have a very strong relationship there and in our communities. And I think that's very important when you speak about how you advance a company and how you advance projects in other jurisdictions, whether it's Canada or the US or Botswana. You want to make sure that you have that community developed, you have a strong infrastructure around you of support, and that government relations being a very key point. Next slide, please. So what I'll do is I'll introduce Sean Whiteford. Sean is going to go through all the technical and show you exactly what our program's up to, and we'll start talking about the scale and size of this. Sean, take it away.
Yeah, sorry, Sean, to cut you off quickly. I failed to mention we did put a link in the chat box if you wanted to follow the Verify 3D models in real time. Otherwise, in the Zoom, there may be some lag. So completely up to you.
Thanks, Morgan. Thanks, Jacqueline. Hello, everyone. So we have about 12 or so slides to go through our current program, which is, as everyone knows, and Morgan talked to, we introduced the MRE from Slibe last year and from Selkirk last year. And the focus now is on expanding these resources to their full extent. So I'll go over that the next few slides. So just an overview here. Yellow outline is our mining lease. The internal one is our surface rights. Of note on here that's new to maybe a lot of people is at the top in the green is a 50 megawatt solar power plant that's expanding to 100 megawatts underway right now. So that 50 megawatts is online, 100 megawatts by the end of the year. Next slide. The long section, again here, we have on the left side is the Peakway historic resources that we haven't verified, but historically, roughly 35 million tons of lower grade material. And then what I'm going to talk about the next few slides is Slibe North and Slibe Main and what we're doing to expand the resource there. As it's indicated, it is open in all directions, down plunge from Slibe North and down plunge from Slibe Main, which I'll get into more detail. Next slide. Before we do it, we're going to do Slibe North first. This is the bottom of the Slibe North shaft. 30 years of mining here. You can see this is and still a very competent country rock to work with and very little water. So that's a great place to work. Next slide, please. So Slibe North resource. What I wanted to show here and what Morgan alluded to is we have, you can see in the indicated in darker red and then inferred in lighter pink. We have old workings in the indicated resource, which gives us an incredible head start on potential restart, so we can get done quickly. It's ready to go. In a lot of places, it's already been drilled out and ready to blast. So next slide, please. So these next few slides will show what we've done recently on resource expansion and the potential for the upside at Slibe North. So previously released hole 96 is again outside the mineral resource estimate wireframe. It's down plunge. The yellow, which we talked about before, and we use extensively, and it really guides our drilling program, are borehole EM modeled plates. And that we've been incredibly successful, Sharon Taylor, Jerry Catch, in developing and expanding the resource using borehole EM and downhole geology as well. So we have some great intercepts there, 12 meters or almost 13 meters of 4.12 copper equivalent on the south limb, and then into the north N2 limb, 24 meters of 2.17% copper equivalent. So next slide. This is hole 102, again, previous release, but it's in a new area for us. It's adjacent to the N2 limb, and again, outside the mineral resource estimate, but no, the 17 meters of 2% copper equivalent. So next slide. So this is the new drilling the last few months. We released this hole 186, this intercepted massive sulfides, again guided by borehole EM. But this is about 350 meters down plunge of the MRE or mineral resource estimate wireframe. There's two other cyan traces there. The one on the left is hole 184, which we've talked about before, assays pending. And then in the middle of that is the new hole we're on right now. This is hole 190, which we're just underway on. So again, all about expanding the resource here. Next slide, please. So we previously announced that we are trying to expand the Sleepy Main resource using with a hinge drill program, 6 holes, 12,000 meters. So we've started on that. The down plunge extent, we see this, the yellow borehole model plates represent a down plunge extension of the Sleepy Main current resource. And what we're going to do with this program is to confirm that and get the thicknesses and grades that we needed to further expand the resource. Next slide, please. So again, this is a 6-hole, 12,000 meter program. You see 6 holes there. We've started on the far left one, which is hole 6 on the diagram here, and hole 1. Where we go from there will be data driven. So we will get the results geologically and then probe these holes with borehole EM and then decide where to go next. We do know there is a thick section within the Sleepy Main resource that gets up to 35 meters thick. And the idea is to follow that horizon where it's the thickest. So we will be guided by our data as we collect that from our drill program, and that's where the next holes will go. Next slide, please. So on to Selkirk. So just an overview slide here showing upper left side is Francistown, second largest town in Botswana. Great infrastructure there. Upper right is the old Phoenix mine, and then in the bottom, in the red outline is the Selkirk mining lease with our inferred 44.2 million ton at 0.81% copper equivalent MRE. And the program here, which we'll get into next, is all about expanding that resource. We also have prospecting licenses that we'll be doing work on around Selkirk and in the area that have additional targets that we will be testing in the coming months. Again, talking about the 44 million tons historic resource that is unverified, but has a lot of potential, over 128 million tons. And the work we're doing will go towards expanding that. Next slide, please. So what are we doing to do that? So the red outline is the 44.2 million tons of 43101 resource. So what we're doing in here, it's an historic problem that we have been we've been dealing with is there's copper nickel at Selkirk, but there's also an incredible amount of precious metals, particularly palladium, platinum, and a little bit of gold. They were not historically well sampled for or assayed for. So we're going back in and drilling 12 new holes here for two reasons. One, to reassay those to part of increasing the resource. And 2 is for metallurgical sampling. And I'll get into that in a second. In addition to those 12 holes for resource expansion, we're also reassaying historic holes, 34 of those, which will go, again, be full assays on precious metals and base metals, and that will also go into the resource. The met work, what we get out of this met work is we get good coverage, good variability testing on the deposit. There is areas of lower grade, areas of higher grade, areas of different nickel tenor. So we are covering that with this met program. We'll first do XRT pre-concentration. We'll be testing that out in South Africa. And then we'll do flow sheet development in Canada on the rest of the core. And again, looking at all options for Selkirk, which would be both a bulk concentrate and separate copper and separate nickel concentrate. all this will lead towards an increase of the resource, and that's the goal out of this is to significantly increase the resource side. Next slide, please. I will
Yeah,
turn that over to Ronan.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. I'll just quickly premise that with, like, obviously you can all see that it's full steam ahead on site. So news flow should be in abundance over the next coming months. But maybe Morgan, you could lay out sort of some of the catalysts over the next 6 to 8 months, and then maybe we can touch on some of the more corporate related activity, like the recent recapitalization in March, the name change, consolidation, and how this all fits together.
Absolutely. And I think as you've seen from Sean's explanations of what we're doing at Salibe and what we're doing at Selkirk, I think it's really important to note that we are doing these activities concurrently. They're not one after the other. It's not a long drawn out process. We are hitting the ground running. We're doing the network that Sean was speaking about at both Salibe and Selkirk. We're doing the drilling work at Salibe and Selkirk. We're drilling that hinge. We're drilling from underground, expanding. So this is a full steam ahead project. We want to show the scale and size of this as fast as humanly possible. Given, again, back to the kind of macro theme of the world, like this is going to need to be a part of that larger supply chain. So from a value growth standpoint, our drilling at Salibe underground, expanding that Salibe north, and then drilling into the hinge, the work that we're doing on site within the underground to start doing some slashing and driving more drifts, that is all ongoing as we speak. The drilling that we're doing at Selkirk for the metallurgical studies and for the resource expansion, as well as the reassay program, I think I'd like to emphasize that these are a much lower cost than having to go to redrill an entire resource. These are advantages that we've had. And a good reminder is that this asset used to be a part of the Lion Ore Day. So that whole complex was sold for I think it was 4.3 billion US. And this Selkirk was a next feeder asset into that. So we were able to pull that whole process back into us. So the Selkirk and the Salibe mines. So not only do we have, multiple shots on net, I think we have really four. We have the drilling at Salibe that's going to show the size and scale potential, that interconnecting zone, the hinge zone. We've had a 99% hit rate on our borehole EM plates in association to massive sulfides. And as someone very recently told me, the borehole EM plates are one of the only tried, tested, and true ways to actually find these massive sulfide deposits and grow them. You can see them actually working in other companies very recently as well. So we're very confident in what we're doing there, and we're going to be drilling. We're drilling, and we're going to continue to drill for a very long time here going forward. But we do expect a lot of catalysts coming out of that program here shortly. But, the metallurgy program is an interesting one. So we looked at this as a kind of a three-pronged approach with the MET program. We have the bulk concentrate, and we have separate concentrates, and then separating those out even further. So those programs are ongoing right now. They're active. I imagine we'll have some results over those in the next few months here as well. But I want to cue in, and it's something that Sean always tells me, is we got to do the work. We believe there's a potential for metallurgy to unlock some more parts of the growth of this story. So I encourage you to stay tuned on that. I know metallurgy sounds boring to most people, but it can be a very huge unlocking component for us going forward. The XRT ore sorting, that actually plays into that metallurgy. We're also doing constant trade-off studies. So again, we're taking a data-driven approach. We're taking a combining the programs approach and a very concurrent path approach. Instead of being a very linear over the next 2 years, we want to compress it all. We're concentrated on time value of money here, so getting as much results as we can and moving on. I will touch on the name change and then onto the NASDAQ component here. But since Frank and myself and the other groups got involved, including Andy Bowering, we really looked at the company as this bigger part of the metal supply chain. And we thought the name NEXM Metals really fit in to showing that we're not only just a copper company or just a nickel company or just a cobalt company. We are a NEXM Metals company. We are a company that will expand significantly, we believe, not only on these assets, but in the vision of how we grow. So for us, this was a very pivotal moment to not only rebrand, but show that there's a brand new plan here. And it's running very fast. As you probably see, we announce a lot of news every week, or we're trying to. And I think that will keep going for quite some time. And a part of that growth of the company was giving it to a larger audience. You know, looking at the United States market, it's significantly bigger than the Canadian market currently, and probably for a long time. Moving up to the NASDAQ was a big key for us, and which we believe will unlock value for our shareholders, which will put us in the limelight with larger institutions that tend to only be able to invest on the NASDAQ or on more senior exchanges, but also allow us to grow. There's not many critical metals companies on the NASDAQ, and we think we'll be one of the few highlighted companies given what's going on in Africa and given the focus on critical metals and given the focus of the current administration in the United States on Africa in itself. We think that this is going to be a big value driver for us and very accretive overall. Next slide.
Yeah, and sorry, Morgan, just quickly
Go
on
ahead.
the NASDAQ. We are, just for clarity, we're not listed on the NASDAQ.
Correct. We're not as of yet listed on the NASDAQ, but our plan is to be listed on the NASDAQ. So I'll talk on the share structure a bit. Notice the share structure has probably changed a little bit over the past little while. A part of that listing on the NASDAQ was a consolidation of shares to stay at a certain marker for a certain amount of days. We've consolidated our shares 20 to 1. We believe that's tightened it up, even though the float was very small in general. But we have a very kind of, again, 4 buckets of capital in here. The Fiore-led non-brokered deal, which is about 36% of the capital. The current management directors and some of our largest select shareholders hold about 22% of the company. EdgePoint, our largest shareholder, holds 22% of the company. Again, it's very important when you have someone like EdgePoint in, that them holding a 22% is a very big sign. They're a large fund. They're a $40 billion fund out of Toronto. And coming into a story like this only shows their belief in this project and in the team that is here. The rest of the float is institutional retail. And we do have some really strong resource coverage from SCP, Paradigm, and Cormark. Most recently, we did add SCP. Brandon Gasper, one of the analysts there, gave us a nice target, but also had a very deep understanding of site and understanding of the geology. So we have what we call is the nice setup to grow as a company. We're currently about a $200 million market cap and very well capitalized to move this forward quickly. Next slide. I guess I'll introduce the management and the board so we can all get to know each other a bit better. I think Jacqueline's introduced myself, so I won't have to speak about it. And Sean. A couple of the key members and most recently joined us is Brett McKay. Brett formerly was with Lundin Mining for about 13 years. Comes to us with that strong operational exploration and development experience from Lundin Mining. Makes a very strong addition to our team as our CFO, and that was a very welcome for him to come on the team. So we're going to grow again. We're going to grow together, and this is a part of our growth strategy: is being the right people in the right place at the right time. Boris Kamstra, our COO, 25 years, has formerly the CEO of Alphamin Resources and led the development of a $1 billion plus tin deposit in the DRC, has significant experience in Africa building mines, is very integrated in our team on everything from studies to drill planning to how we're going to look at putting this thing into production one day. So having Boris there has been a very, very important part of rounding out the holistic experience of not just being an exploration company, but planning to be something much bigger. Jacqueline's introduced herself. I'm sure she didn't introduce herself fully, but she's been 20 years in the resources and communications and IR space. Sharon Taylor, VP of Exploration, one of the foremost experts on downhole borehole EM, or the borehole EM plates that we're using to guide our exploration. Again, I like to emphasize we've had a very strong hit rate of massive sulfides to these borehole EM plates. That's an important thing to recognize. Sharon is the expert leading that. And Nape is our president of NEXM Metals Botswana. Nape is our integral link between the government and the people and ourselves and plays a very integral part of that. Next slide. So if you notice, we've had a few changes on the board of directors as of late, and I'd like to recognize a few of the members that have joined. Paul Martin joined as, he was formerly the interim CEO of us. He joined as chairman of the board. Jim stepped down into a director role. Paul has a background that is fairly significant in the mining space, led Detour Gold. That sold for billions and billions of dollars. Played CFO roles in major mining companies and was the interim CEO of Osisko Gold Royalties. Norm MacDonald is the current chairman of Osisko Gold Royalties. I think they're about $6-7 billion company right now and has significant experience in the banking space. But a couple members that just joined us, I'd like to highlight Chris Levy. Chris was the chief investment officer for BlackRock out of New York for the U.S. equities portfolio, 100 billion plus portfolio. Before that, he was the CIO of Oppenheimer Funds and has played a significant role in the capital markets out of New York. And again, someone that believes in our project and our story and our team. Another gentleman that just joined us is Andre Vanderkerk. Again, someone that has built mines, has been a part of right from exploration into production and CFO roles. Most recently, he was the CFO of Gato Silver that just sold for $1.2 billion. And in 2 years, him and Dale, the CEO, took that company from about a 200 million market cap to the $1.2 billion buyout of an operation, fixed a lot of the issues. So a very welcome member to our board as well, that brings that depth of experience right from start to finish and into operations. The other members of the board have been here for a little bit of time, Jason LeBlanc and Mark Christensen. And we did touch on Jim Gowans. Jim's experience in Botswana is very significant. And why I want to touch on Jim is Jim has spent 20 plus years in and out of Botswana. He was De Beers' go-to mine builder. He's arguably one of the most notable mine builders in Canadian history and brings that depth of experience to us in that sense. But also there's two strategic advisors. I always like highlighting Frank Justra, again, a legend in the mining space, has been responsible for building $100+ billion of companies. Frank, tends to only factor towards gold. And when Frank and I looked at this, we saw something here that is very unique and very special in the industry. And for Frank to want to put his name on that and put the size of check that he put into this was, again, is very special. So entering Africa, especially on a Botswana site, which is, again, a tier 1 jurisdiction. I know Frank's very excited about this company and about the project. And same with Andy Bowering, who, again, another strategic advisor to us, another successful person in the mining industry, has bought and sold companies. So we're surrounding ourselves with people here on our board and on our team that know how to execute, that know how to drive value on every part of the value chain. Next slide, please. And that's it. That's all.
Yeah, Morgan, I think that kind of wraps up the presentation component of it, but could we get personal for a second for both of you,
Sure.
and Sean? And you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think given sort of your recent successes, transforming companies and doing what you do, what was the sort of, oh my God, I have to do this with this project? Like, what was that moment for you? What in this project really pulled you in?
The aha moment is what you're asking about. That one was fairly easy, to be honest. It actually was just literally looking at the slide deck. I saw continued growth, and I'm sitting there going, I don't understand the value disconnect of this company. That their valuation was here, and the size of the resource and prize is just exponentially higher. And this is something where, look, when you have a company that has significant debt on it and doesn't necessarily have a way out, that was the opportunity for us. We said, hey, this is an opportunity to work with a world-class team. And that was the instant sales for me. I was like, yes. And then I talked to Sean, and I was just blown away by the technicals. And as most know, I'm not a geologist, and I'll never claim to be, although I try to with Sean sometimes. But overall, hearing from Sean and hearing the technical side and then getting on site and going underground and meeting the people, but also putting your hand on the ore body. There's not many places in the world you can actually go into an underground that has a fully loaded round ready to drop and touch the ore body and go, wow, this is real. Here's the size of it. Here's the scale. Like, when you look at mining projects, they're exciting because you drill a bunch of holes, but there's risk. Whereas this has been significantly de-risked by the mining, by the understanding, by, the team here and the scale. So it was really a scale thing for us, and the ability to restructure the debt. That was bar none, you didn't have to build it from scratch, which is one of the rarest things to get in this industry. Plus, again, I've worked in Africa before. I've been yearning to go back. And I'm really much looking forward to bringing my almost 7-year-old son there, because I think he's going to have a great time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Morgan. So it's just check, check, check. Got it. Sean, sorry, same question to you.
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. So I talked to Keith Morrison, who's founder and former CEO, a few years back when they're doing the due diligence on the asset before they did the purchase agreement. And for Keith, it was, oh, listen, look at this. They had never used borehole EM, and we're seeing it, and it's lighting it up, and the potential resource, it could be incredible here, because the Sleepy North and Sleepy Main trend towards each other. So I looked at that, and that's incredibly interesting. I started on the board, came off the board in 2023, and worked on the asset. And that is the key, is the asset and the resource potential, as we've shown. Every drill hole that we put in a borehole, almost every drill hole we put in a borehole EM plate, it's massive sulfides. So the resource potential is there. I've worked with major mining companies. Resource is critical. And the resource, the larger the resource, the better, overall for any type of development. It gives you much more optionality that way. So that's a risk. Is the resource a risk? We're de-risking that. So the other risk is execution. We already have shafts and infrastructure in place at Sleepy. Selkirk would be an open pit, which is a lot more straightforward to do. Not easy, but more straightforward. So those are the risks that are involved, that this project is going a long way to de-risk. So those are critical things that caught my attention and keep me here.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you both so much for, giving us the time today and speaking to our shareholders. I'll open it to Q&A now. I did receive a few emails from investors ahead of this, just with a couple of questions. So we'll just dive into it if you guys are ready, or if there's anything else you wanted to add, but we can kind of leave that for the end here. But
let's dive in.
So the first question, under the previous leadership, the plan was obviously to move toward a PEA or a PFS. Obviously, with all the work that we're doing now, what does the current team see as the next step for an economic study? And what kind of timeline does the company anticipate after the completion of the current programs?
Yeah, that's a really important question to answer. And I would like to, refer to the restructuring of the actual plan. That, when we came in and the company really restructured the plan between Sean and myself and the team and the board, that went after scale, which is what we're doing. We're through our hinge drilling, through our Selkirk drilling, and why we've kept them as concurrent paths is we're going to show scale. And when we're done showing scale, then we will show the economics around this. Because to me, and I think what is important to people, is to understand how big this thing can get. Because look, I think that's been the most exciting thing about this story. It's not about how quickly we can get a PA done or a PFS done. It's about how big this gets. And then let's scale some economics around it, because having the metallurgy done right, having the size and scale done correctly, showing the hinge, showing the Selkirk, there's just so many opportunities here that will only enhance a PA for us, that we decided, hey, look, we're going to do all these opportunities right now up front. We have the money to do it. And then we'll show. So right after the program's finished, we anticipate launching into those studies. But again, I like to also say a key component here, we start hitting in some of these areas big, we're going to show expansion really quick, right? So I don't know if Sean has something else to add to that, but for us, as far as the market goes, we're showing scale first, and we're showing size, and we're showing the right steps versus just going out there and trying to pound something into the market.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right, Mark. Previous worked a major company that ore body knowledge and strategic mine planning went hand in hand. So you have to know what you have, or a good understanding of what you have, to properly plan it and execute that plan. So we're not there. We could, as Morgan said, we could produce a PEA on what we have now, but every time we drill a hole, it grows. So we need to We need to understand a resource, understand the metallurgy, which is just as critical, and then we'll be ready to put out a proper PEA, PFS, whatever it is.
And I think it's critical to remind everyone that Salibe North, the underground infrastructure is there, Salibe Main. So you have infrastructure. We have a lot, like we have knowledge and past production data to show how this thing's going to produce. So a lot of the de-risking that would happen within PA and PFS and FS studies has been done for us on that matter of it. So when we're going to restart this, we're not going in blind. We don't know, we're not going to go and say, well, we're going to try mining it this way. We know the way it's going to get mined because it's been done before. So that's actually a very critical point for us. So.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. All right, we'll just move into the next one. Sean, maybe this is a good question for you, and it kind of in line with economic studies and sort of end products, but the company, and you sort of touched on it already as well, but we've been conducting metallurgical testing over the past few years with positive results. What's being done differently now compared to when the work first began?
Yeah, sure. So we did, yeah, and we released some of those results. We did it with SGS Lakefield. Those are smaller bench scale tests. So right now we have large bulk sample tests that have covered the entire deposit. It's for Salibe. So in terms of variability testing, and have we tested the low grade, the high grade, and different parts of the deposit. So we've done that on a bulk scale. So that's what's undergoing now for there, and for both and for Selkirk, we have discussed the drill program we're doing there, which again covers the entire resource, and so we'll do variability testing there and flow sheet development. And importantly as well is that traditionally the Salibe deposits, Salibe and Piquoy deposits produced a bulk concentrate that went into the smelter that broke. So that's a bulk concentrate that's doable. So we're looking at that, but we're also looking at separate copper, separate nickel concentrates as well. And we'll do the same for Selkirk.
Okay, thanks, Sean. I'll grab one from the chat here. We talk about, having the infrastructure, having the permits, but what other supplemental permits do we need to secure before we ultimately, restart the mine or potentially go into production? And maybe we can touch on, the special economic zone and that in and around the area.
Sure. Yeah, I'll start and I'll let Sean jump in with the rest of the economic zone there. But I mean, so we're fully permitted mining mines for mining. The next main permit hurdle is always around tailings. But I like to remind people in Botswana, permitting goes very quick. They're very positive. This is a very big part of the economy, and the government wants us to be back in production as fast as possible. So for us, we live in something called a special economic zone, and I'll let Sean elaborate on that, but that gives us certain economic treatments, and given the past producing nature of it, that is something that we are very positive about with our story. Sean,
Yeah,
take it away.
Shortly, the special economic zone is actually on our mining lease, and it's for processing. So there'll be, ideally they want us to process as much as we can, beneficiate as much as we can in the country. So it's tax incentives, other incentives that the government of Botswana gives for that development, development of those skills, development of obviously those jobs that go with it. So.
Okay, well, good. Let's touch on the jobs part really quickly. I know that when the mines closed, the town was built in and around the mines, Salibe, Piquoy, and the workforce lived in the town. So our access to, skilled geologists, drillers, engineers is in abundance. But maybe you can touch on, Sean and Morgan, because you've spent some time there as well. Some of our social licensing and social engagement activity and just, yeah, with the community that surrounds our projects. Some of the initiatives that we've done, I mean, I could point out, the entrepreneurship initiatives that we completed, some social programming and planning.
I'll revert to Sean on this one, just given that we, myself and the team only came in fairly recently, but I definitely know from my visits to site and interacting in and out of the community, that it's a very positive sentiment towards us. So, Sean, I'd love for you to touch on what we're doing there.
Yeah, so yeah, it's we're doing what we consider fit for purpose, fit for the stage of development that we're at. Carol Panseri is a Botswana ESG trained our manager for ESG. She joined our team late last year, and she's leading our efforts in Botswana. All those things we talked about, Jacqueline, community relations, sponsoring softball tournaments, you name it, we're doing it. Helping out with solar powered lights, those things. Um, and
Yeah, street lights.
yeah, so solar powered street lights, yeah, and interacting with our stakeholders. That's critical. All stakeholders, including the town, the government, farms that are nearby, communities that are nearby. And just telling them what we're doing, keeping them up to speed. That's a major portion of what we're doing.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sean. All right, I think we have time for a couple more questions here. So maybe Morgan, you can provide some clarity around this next question, because when I first read it, it kind of seems there's confusion in the market around the hinge drilling and previous surface drilling that the company did at Salibe, Maine in 2022. But the question is, the company drilled a few holes in the hinge in 2022, but didn't find significant mineralization. What additional data do they have available that makes them think it will be different when they drill this time?
Yeah, look, the company did not drill into the hinge in 2022 at all. Those were into Salibe, Maine, those holes or other places. But the drilling did not go into the hinge in the way we are at all. So, and I can let Sean expand on that as well because he was there for it. But this is a brand new program. This is targeting undrilled areas. This is targeting the hinge and those borehole EM plates that have never been targeted before.
Yeah, correct. So the drilling that was done in 2022 was again following the down plunge extent of the Salibe, Maine resource. And they were successful in doing that and hitting some thick intercepts of massive sulfides, good grades. So we're continuing that down. We call it the hinge because it kind of curves back up, but that is the down plunge extent of Salibe, Maine, and they have not been drilled. Those are brand new areas to drill.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for providing that clarity. Just staying on the hinge, I do have a question in the chat. How long do you expect sort of to reach target depth? And that kind of leads into this next question of when we would expect assays from the hinge. But from what I understand, it's obviously commenced, but they are deep holes. So if you could provide any clarity to that would be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So a part of what we did and to keep moving forward really quickly was we took our underground drills and we converted them to surface. So we're actually drilling concurrently two holes, the number 6 hole and the number 1 hole that we were speaking about. Those drill holes are ongoing and they're going very well. So they're making tremendous progress. So as they get down, they're between 1,800 and 2,000 meters, just because we want to have very long, deep intercepts. Those are going. So I don't know exactly the date, but I'm sure Sean can elaborate on it. But we're gonna be hitting those in the next little while, and then that's going to continue to be data driven. So data driven, where the next holes go, how we expand on those. Those holes may be used to wedge off of as well. So they could be used to wedge and hit other targets. But that's something that we'll expand on as we go, and then thereafter the assays will come. So as far as it's going very well. We're very happy. We're able to do it in a cost-effective manner because we have our own drilling team. We have our own drills. So instead of waiting months and months for a contractor to come in and mobilize and then them having to train on the new ground, we've been drilling this ground for a very long time. So we have now the capability through our own program and our own drills to do this and do it efficiently and quickly. So.
Okay, thanks for that, Morgan. Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Not much to add there. So yeah, we have our own drills, as Morgan said, have converted and started to. We are going to call them pilot holes. We have another larger drill that we purchased that's on its way to Botswana now that will finish and really easily drill these deeper holes. That's ideally what we're doing. So sometime in July, we should get to target depth with these holes, but I won't give an exact date because drilling is an inexact science, and So, but it is going very well. So Fusion has been drilling for us for a couple of years now, providing drillers for us, and they're doing a really good job along with our local Botswana drillers. So.
Thanks, Sean. And then just another sort of clarity point, because I see in the chat here, there was I think there's a smelter at the original mine site. Can it be used, or where does the product go once it's ready to ship? So I think just clarity around what's happened to the legacy infrastructure and that.
Yeah, so the legacy smelter was sold off as a part of the liquidation process. That's being taken down, if not mostly, by now. It was not in good shape. It was very, very old. It was built in the 70s. It was probably not something we would want to use if it was there. The recoveries weren't exactly perfect on it as well. So for us, that's not on our liability. That's not on our books. I think the key to remember is what Sean and I were speaking about around the metallurgy. You know, that was a bulk concentrate back then. And you can think technology changes in 50, 60 years, right? So from when they were doing the met work on this, that technology has significantly changed. I mean, back in the day, you changed from square float cells to round ones now, which provided a very different recovery curve. So we're doing that work to hopefully unlock some new potential here on the metallurgy and on the need for beneficiation in country. So again, some positive things that could really come out of this in the near term.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Morgan. This might be our last question, Morgan. I think we have some notes, a wrap-up summary.
Sure.
We should, but this is an easy one. Oh, well, first, is there any cobalt at Salibe, Sean, Morgan?
Yeah, there is, and it is the focus of our flow sheet as well. There's decent amounts, higher grade in different sections of the Salibe North deposits, up to 0.12, 0.14, some places.
Thank you. And how many meters have we drilled since we released the MRE that were not included in the resource estimate?
Yeah, so the MRE was based on roughly 30,000 meters in Salibe North, and we've drilled another roughly 37,000 meters since then. Not all on outside of the MRE, but a good majority of it was for resource expansion.
Okay, excellent. I think that kind of takes us to our end of Q&A session. Morgan, I'd like to sort of hand it over to you to provide any, wrap up, closing notes, and then I've got a few admin stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, I know we're only on a short timeline here, so if anyone does have any questions, please reach out to Jacqueline and myself, and we're happy to answer them as a company. But I would definitely like to thank everyone for their time. I know it's a long time to hear us yap on about what we're excited about, and hopefully we can get you excited about this too, because I think we're at a pivotal point for this company. It's been restructured. It is going on to the NASDAQ in the near future. Knock on wood. I always like to say, until it happens, it happens. But also the speed in which our team is executing, the cohesion that is now in the team. It's really amazing to see how many of these concurrent activities actually are happening at the same time under the leadership of Sean and Boris and the rest of our team there. It's truly wonderful. I think you're going to see a lot of positive steps out of this company in the near future. You're going to see catalysts. You're going to see what we think these deposits really are, and we're going to show it quickly. So I'd say stay tuned. Again, reminder, we're well capitalized to do all this, and we're going to show the scale here very shortly.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you, Morgan and Sean, obviously for making yourselves available once again to address our shareholders, supporters, and thank you to everybody who joined and for your support and engagement as we continue on this journey. Morgan obviously touched on it already, but there's going to be an abundance of news flow in the coming months, lots of activity, and it's going to be a really exciting time. Again, my door is always open. Morgan's door is always open. I put my email in the chat in the event anybody wants to connect. Any questions we didn't get to today, I'll get to via email. And the presentation, again, will be posted on our website. But other than that, thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks.